My Favorite Person, the #1 rated podcast about the manufactured housing industry in South Carolina. In fact, the only podcast about the manufactured housing industry in South Carolina. I'm Clayton Evans, director of the podcast, and here's our host and producer, Mark Dillard.
Our guest today is Ray Paulk, the general manager of the Fleetwood-Cabco facility in Douglas, Georgia. Ray, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Mark. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Now, as general manager, how do you spend most of your day? Do you have a typical day, or does it vary a whole bunch?
It varies every day, from the minute you walk in the gate until the minute you leave. Obviously there are tasks and performances that need to be done every day, but for the most part, it's responding and reacting to situations as they arise.
Now, you worked at that plant for how many years?
A long time. I started here in 1990, and I was here through 1996, and then back here in 2009. And so I've been here since 2009.
What's the biggest challenge to running a manufacturing facility for you?
I think it's pretty consistent around the world, but it's people, and we have 180 employees on the production assembly line, and so there are 180 different stories every day, and everybody, just like us, has different situations that they have to deal with on a personal and work basis, sicknesses, illnesses, family issues, and so you manage through those opportunities every day, and you have to keep in mind that everybody may not be in a great mood, and everybody may have underlying issues that are creating problems for them elsewhere.
Well, I started hearing, a few years ago that it was a challenge getting people who wanted to do physical type labor, and that's just, the folks who are coming out of school in the last 5-10 years are really looking to either not work as much, or perhaps work in a nice, comfortable office. Is that still an issue, just finding folks who want to enjoy getting in there and using their muscles and things like that?
It is, Mark. What we do is very physical, and it requires everyday working in the elements. When it's hot outside, it's hot in the production facility. When it's cold, it's cold. But we have done a lot of things to influence that. Love being with Cavco and the emphasis they put from a corporate level on making sure that our employees are safe, in a good environment, that they are paid fairly for the work that we're doing, and it's really top down driven. So it's good to be a part of that kind of organization.
How much did things change when I guess Fleetwood was purchased by Cavco, or was there a different sort of corporate culture or things like that?
Yeah, it's an entirely different corporate culture, but it's an entirely different world that we work in. Fleetwood was known to work under an austerity program, and it worked well for years. And Cavco approaches things entirely differently, and it have a set of values and core beliefs that are different than what would have been around prior to 2009. And so it's great to know that you're with a company that is interested in keeping up with those changes and being a leader in culture change and knowing what that is and measuring it and responding to problems and issues in the appropriate way. So yeah, it is a, I don't know if it's a full 180 from where we were, but it's a long way from what it used to be. That's for sure. And I think that's typical everywhere.
Right, right. Now, is Cavco the second or third largest manufacturer in the nation? Seems like they're in the big, General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler type category.
Yeah, it all depends on what you're measuring, but you know about the three C's, Clayton, Champion, Cavco. Two of those have grown a lot through acquisitions in the last 5-10 years. And so those measurements have changed over time. But yeah, there are some independents left, and they're doing a great job out there as well. But there are obviously three that are predominant in the industry.
Now, the plant's in Douglas, and you're in Ocilla. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, I'm from Ocilla, but I'm obviously at the plant every day. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you drive over every day, or?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, got about a 40-minute commute. Gives you time to think about the day on the way over and to get rid of the day on the way home.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess you'd call that what, South Central Georgia, or?
Yeah, South Central Georgia. We're 90 miles from the Florida line, about the same distance from the beach, and so we're 100 miles south of Macon. So we're definitely South Georgia, in the heart of it.
You don't have a real strong accent.
I'm sure there are a lot of people that would argue that with you. Probably some of it changed. The only time I've really been away from South Georgia is in the greatest football city in the world, and that's Classic City, Athens, Georgia, and that probably had a little influence over the way you address a few things.
Well, I remember when John Spivey first came into the industry, I asked him, what'd you do before this? And he said, I sold sailor phones. And I said, sailor, like for boats and, yachts and stuff. He goes, those sailor phones, you hook them on your belt.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll still hear some of that come from me as well.
Well, now, what years were you at Athens?
I left Athens in 1981, so I started in 76. And so I was there through the glory years, and a guy named Herschel playing football. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And my diploma actually says 83.
So now, were the B-52s and REM on the scene the years you were up there?
At the B&L warehouse and the other place, and that was actually the name of it. So yeah, they were there, and like everybody else, they were garage bands or the local bar band. So they weren't on the pedestal at that time that they climbed onto later.
Yeah, we had Hootie downtown here, and it's kind of cool to watch people that you actually know, move up the ladder. How did you get into the industry in the first place?
My original intent was to go into the lumber business, and I was a forestry major until I realized that it was all the guys in sales in the lumber industry that were making the money. So I changed my major to economics, ended up with the Bachelor of Science in Economics. When I first graduated, I did go into the lumber business, and got a call one day from a guy named Charlie Lott. And he was working at Flintstone Homes, which was based in Ocilla. And they were looking for someone with my resume to come into a management training program with Flintstone. And that sounded like a great opportunity. I didn't know at the time that the management training opportunity was working in the floor department to start with, and then working your way all the way through the production line. But I'm glad I have that background. I did work on the production facility line for about 2 years, and managed supervised several departments, and got a lot of hands-on knowledge of how to build and what our product looks like from the ground up.
It seemed like that would be ideal, if not essential, for a general manager to really know literally the nuts and bolts of building a house.
It I don't know if we'll call it ideal, but it definitely helps. And there are a lot of paths to get here. And everything that we do is hands-on. We all understand different departments. We work well department to department. Whether you came up through purchasing or service or sales or production, everybody had similar paths to get to where they are.
Well, are y'all doing much with robotics and all that within the plant, or are they training AI to replace you someday, or how technical are y'all?
We are not. We're not doing any robotics. We are looking at some plant revisions that will make the production assembly a safer place to work. We're working on taking our floors off the chassis as we build, just so that getting in and out of the houses is easier. That you're building on a solid platform. So there's not a whole lot of innovation in the industry. Not to say there's none, and things have certainly changed from the beginning. But for the most part, it's hands-on.
Now, so you were with Flintstone. I believe you did a little bit of modular along the way. How did it come about that you became a Fleetwood man?
In 1987, the industry was struggling a bit and stayed that way through 1990. I left Flintstone because they were going out of business, and they did. Did work a brief stint with Champion on the supply side, and then from there into an opportunity with AAA Custom Builders out of Columbus, Georgia. Mm-hmm. And we built commercial mod, and that's a lot of fun. Every project's different. Built a lot of units for Disney, a lot of golf pro shops. My claim to fame used to be that I built an office for Prince Charles, until somebody recently pointed out to me that now I could say I built an office for a king. So I built the office that King Charles used when he was at the Melbourne Polo Grounds. So wow. I also learned through that there's a lot of things that we can do outside the box. It's not a matter of what we can build, it's what we can ship. So we can build anything that we can legally transport.
Yeah. So now you knew some of the sort of the giants like Ace Walling and people like that when you came to Fleetwood. That seemed like there's a lot of really good people working with the company.
Yeah, we had the East Coast Mafia, and which we Fleetwood in the southeast generated most of the income for Fleetwood, and there were some great guys along the way that influenced that. Charlie Lott and Hall of Famer Ronnie Cudd, and Ace was a great mentor. Loved working with him. Learned a lot from him. But there are a lot of people like that influenced paths along the way.
So you became a permanent employee of Fleetwood. That would be early mid-90s.
1990 is when I joined Fleetwood. Right. And was at this facility until 96, and Fleetwood implemented the RMM Retail Marketing Manager programs, and we all became a lot of us became home based at that time, and worked within our appointed districts. I happened to be appointed to the Douglas market, so I never had to leave this market. I lived in Ocilla the entire time. And then I worked, so that was 90 to 96 here, 96 to 99 in the RMM program, and then did a brief stint after that with American Homestar, then left the East Coast. Had an opportunity to move to Texas and decided that probably wasn't what I wanted to do. So I got a call from a guy named David Robertson, president and CEO of Cavalier Home Builders.
Right.
And he said, "You don't know me, but you've got a job when you get everything unfolded over at American Homestar." And that started another opportunity that lasted until 2005 when I got a call from Ronnie Cudd, who said, "Are you ready to come home?" And my answer was yes.
Well, it must be nice to have the kind of reputation where, people call you up. You don't have to go around and drop off resumes and things like that.
Yeah, that's a bad feeling when you're out there. You feel like you're on an island and nobody knows where you are, and you'll never get another job. But haven't faced that opportunity much in my career.
Well, now Fleetwood at one time had, more than the one plant, and what, about four or so back during the glory days?
Yeah, there were 9 production lines operating at one point in time with Fleetwood in this area within about a 30-mile radius.
Yeah.
And that narrowed down from 9 to 4 to 3 to 1. And so it was an interesting opportunity to funnel down, I guess, what was the best of the best, or maybe the most resilient. I'm not sure which was the best way to put that. And so from the time Fleetwood filed bankruptcy in 2009 until about 5 years ago, we hadn't really had to bring in any new people, which meant that the old Fleetwood group was aging. So it was great when we had the opportunity to start bringing in some young guys. And there are a lot of people that talk bad about this generation, 20, 30-year-olds, but I can tell you, we found some fantastic young men and women in the Douglas area that have brought a lot of life in here and a new perspective and some laughter and people that are having marriages and babies, and we'd gotten to a point where there's about a 10 or 15-year age gap where we just didn't hire anybody. And so it was great to get all that those cultural differences back into the production facilities as well. My kids grew up in this industry, and probably the highlight of their year every year was to the MHISC convention in Myrtle Beach. I mean, the Hilton Head. They look forward to that. It was a family event, and our family always look forward to going and spending time with friends that maybe we only saw them once a year, but it was always great to go back. And even as my children got into college and young adults, they made a few more trips back to Hilton Head with MHISC. They loved it and grew up with it.
What are your kids doing now?
One is a licensed electrician. He's works for Allstate Electrical out of Macon. Mm-hmm. The other is raising children and doing some work with me. He's a craftsman and does a lot of different stuff.
Now, what did your dad do?
My dad was a banker, and my mom was the clerk of court in Irwin County, Superior Court in Irwin County. Cool. And I've told you the story before. She's now 96 and on the Governor's Council for Aging, and spent over 50 years in that office there. And so they were both my parents were integral in small town, small community politics and life.
Well, that sounds remarkable. You've got some good DNA there. That may. I hope your retirement plan is well funded.
Yeah, not nearly well funded enough, Mark. That's why I'm at 65. I'm still here, but I'm enjoying it. I love it. I have fun with what I do.
So, from pretty early on, you have been assigned to South Carolina. We've always, everybody knows Ray. Who do you have now that's sort of your representatives that we will expect to see the most at the meetings and so forth?
So, somewhat new to the sales side is my sales manager, Adam Cato, who worked as had a similar background I did, came in through a production job. He later became a service manager, then a production manager. And when John McMahon moved over to the Destiny facility in Moultrie as general manager, Adam wanted to move over into the sales manager role just to round out his career. And so he will be new and involved with MHISC. Levi Smith, who has had a great impact in South Carolina and been well received by the retailers there, which is it's a good group of retailers. So it's not a tough task to get in and want to know them better and want to do business with them. But Levi's done a great job of representing us in South Carolina.
Well, y'all have always had strong representatives and a strong independent dealer base in South Carolina. A lot of quality people on both sides of that equation.
Yeah, we have. It's I was thinking back recently across the I-20 corridor. I had Tom Ledbetter and then Lester Newton and Jerry Allen and Russell Fox and Robert Raven, all on the same parallel there, and that was some really dynamic personalities to deal with, and great people though. That's one of the things about MHISC is that it's you make friends there for life.
I've always said that there's nothing more independent than an independent retail dealer. You do have some good, strong personalities among those folks here in this state.
No doubt.
Well, let me ask you: you're seeing the way the industry has been going. Do you have any thoughts where we might be 5 or 10 years from now, as how much of the housing market will be, or any niches that we're going to fill?
Mark, traditionally we've been about 10% of new housing starts, and we're all looking for ways to grow our market share. And I think the way that we do that is we can become 12 or 14% of new housing starts, or whatever that number may be, where we are able to do more urban infill, where we see some of the zoning issues that are holding us down today kind of go by the wayside, because what we build today is phenomenal product. And so there's really no reasons for some of the restrictions that are currently in place. What will it look like is a great question. What will a stocking dealer look like? We see more and more internet business today. We see cases where people a lot of times don't meet the customer until closing, or if then, may be done digitally across the board. So there have been a lot of changes over the last 10, 20 years, and there will be unforetold changes ahead of us too. We had no idea what COVID would look like, or what the recovery from that would look like, and we all responded well. So whatever the industry holds for us, I think we'll figure out how to respond to it, and I think we'll be the house of choice in the future. It's the only thing you can afford now.
Exactly. Well, as we've sort of, as an association, worked toward the future, you've served on our board more than once. Your employees have been active, and that's something that we really appreciate, because y'all bring a lot to the table, and a lot of good approaches and new ideas and common sense too. I know in our board meetings, and I'm not just blowing smoke. A lot of times, Ray, you'll be the guy who says, "Well, wait a minute, let's think about this and be sure that we thought it out well, and is this really going to work or not?" So I think that's a big contribution. Well, thank you so much for participating in this event also, and it's good catching up with you. And I reckon we'll see you at the convention.
Looking forward to it, Mark. Thanks for the opportunity.